Uncluttered and Unfiltered is supported by Hearts for Minds. Can you imagine waiting 10 years to get screened for cancer? On average, people with mental health issues experience a 10-year delay between symptoms and seeking help, and close to 2/3 of mental illnesses go untreated. Hearts for Minds promotes healthy lives by promoting mental health education, facilitating early identification, and connecting people to treatment. Are you ready to learn more? Go to heartsforminds.org. That's hearts, the number 4, minds.org for more information or to learn how you can help.
Welcome to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast urging you to let it go and don't look back. With nationally acclaimed professional organizer Christine Stone and self-proclaimed hot damn mess radio and TV personality Eden Kendall.
Welcome, everybody, to Uncluttered and Unfiltered with Eden and Christine. And we had an episode last week where I got all up in your business, Miss Christine Stone, professional organizer, and we learned how you became a professional organizer. And we learned a little bit more about how people who might want to one day be a professional organizer should go about it.
Yep.
Some good nuggets in there for everybody.
Yeah,
involved.
and I've gotten a great response, so I'm happy everyone was interested. So keep the suggestions coming. We love it.
Yeah, when you suggest a topic, we hear you.
Yes.
We hear you. In fact, when that particular episode aired, we had somebody say to us, well, you should turn it around, and Christine, you should interview Eden. And I kept saying, well, that won't be as interesting, but you're welcome to it. And we've decided that that's going to happen today after we cover a couple of things.
And I find you very interesting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I think we have a couple of important things to cover. A big wedding, which we're going to get to in just a moment. The big wedding.
The big wedding.
Why I'm not a good friend, because of what I did not do.
Yes.
And before we get to any of that, rest in peace, David Soul, who some of you are too young to even know. Even here in our over 50 women's club, there are many of you ladies who are on the younger side of 50 who aren't familiar with Starsky and Hutch.
Yes.
And how Tiger Beat magazine used to try to pit the Starsky fans against the Hutch fans.
Yes.
Where, frankly, both of them were too old for anybody that age to care about. But I think we all did have a favorite. Everybody kind of thought one was cuter than the other.
Then David Soul came out with Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. And I think he left Starsky in the dust.
In the dust. When he soulfully said, no pun intended, don't give up on us, baby. And there's a video that goes along with it.
Still worth one more try.
And I hadn't heard that song in many, many years.
And now they're playing it to death.
They are on the 70s satellite station.
Yes.
And I put the video up on our Ladies Only page, our Uncluttered and Unfiltered Ladies Only group. And it's a cheesy video. They start like zooming in on him through a chain link fence. And then you've got that whole, he's transparent.
Right.
And there's two of him on the screen. One's a side profile. The other one, he's looking straight into the camera singing. It's so corny, but it was so 70s.
And have you noticed, like, when Jimmy Buffett died, I mean, it was everywhere. When I saw that David Soul died, I decided I'm going to do my Google deep dive. There wasn't like a thing about it. There was like one organization that was it. And I'm like, God, I'm old. Like, that made me feel old.
Well, he didn't have a legacy. I thought there would be an IMDb page that would have so many things he did beyond, but it was some series called Peyton Place. And I do remember that being on TV. And there was one other thing. And then I guess he just went away. I didn't realize that. But yeah, between Starsky and Hutch, he was the blonde. The other guy was Paul Michael Glazer, and I'm assuming still alive.
Oh, he's still alive.
He's still alive. He had a kind of a tragic life with his wife, who was a huge AIDS advocate because she had AIDS. The kids had AIDS. I think they all passed.
Yeah, through a blood transfusion.
Right. So, I mean, that was a whole other thing. Without getting, I think we've gone way down a rabbit hole now. But that "Don't Give Up on Us, Baby."
That brings back memories.
That brings back a ton of memories. Yeah. In fact, my husband and I had a date night. I had reached out to see if you could join us, and we're going to have to do it another night. You and Mitch already had plans, but we went to Name That Tune at a local distillery where they have a DJ that plays 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s music. You have a dry erase board, and you have to write the artist and the name of the song. And when it gets to the end, everybody, all the different teams can pick the decade they want. And you usually pick what's in your wheelhouse that you can pretty much guess isn't anybody else's. So when they called on us and we said the 70s, a bunch of people kind of went boo. And then he said, man, you all are old.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we are old age. That's how we're going to win this.
And did you say hurry up? Because I got to go home and go to bed
well,
soon.
I was, my husband and I were the first ones out the door because at the end he spins music and everyone gets up and dances and we're like, peace, it's over for us. It started late. 7:30 was late.
Yes, exactly.
So we weren't there for that.
Yes.
But anyway, so that was our little trip down memory lane. Now, I did not attend the wedding you attended, the golden wedding, even though I reminded you about it.
Yes.
I posted in our group about it. And then when I was going to watch it the next day, you started texting me about how bad it was. And I thought, let me read a recap. I read the recap, and the recap was horrendous. So let's have some thoughts about the golden wedding. We're talking, of course, about Teresa and Jerry.
With a G.
The golden bachelor finally tying the knot. We wondered who would be in attendance. Well, I guess the paycheck was there for anybody who wanted to show.
Well, they probably paid for them and their hotel and their flights and everything.
So all the ladies.
Yeah, mostly all of them, which I found very surprising, but not really in Bachelor Nation. You know what I mean?
You wanted.
Yeah, and Kathy was one of the MCs, which she actually did really well.
I think she's the sleeper.
Yeah.
There's talk of her being the Bachelorette.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
So.
But anyway, well, I'm going to start off by saying something nice, and then I'll get into the rest. First of all, I think that the good that came out of this is that you're never too old to fall in love.
Correct.
And I loved that was the end game here, that you're not washed up at 70 or 65. And I think it really did motivate and inspire a lot of women over 60 to really give it a second chance when it comes to dating and meeting people. So with that being said, there is something good that came out of it. But
we can't get that time back, though.
Oh, my God. I just want to tell you that wedding was painful. First of all, it was way too long. I mean, way too long.
2 hours.
It was 2 hours. There were so many commercials. Thank God I recorded and got to fast forward through because I would have never been able to do it in real time. I'm sorry.
Pharmaceutical commercials mostly? Or what?
Mostly pharmaceutical, but it just, I just thought it was way too long. Now, I'm going to start at the beginning. They go to each other's house for Christmas and he's wearing the cheesy Christmas sweater, and they're all one big happy family, and all they're doing is talking about their dead spouses and the traditions they had. And the recipe for the cinnamon balls was one thing I really, really wanted. They kept talking about these cinnamon balls that Jerry's
late wife
Tony made, and then they made them and then kind of showed the after, and they were like donuts dipped in cinnamon sugar. They looked delicious. So anyway, I hope they put the recipe somewhere because those look good. A little cheesy with the two families. I think they overdid it a little bit. They were trying to show how much everyone got along and how great it was to be one big happy family. At their age, to have a wedding registry, oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
Like, what was on it?
I don't know, but they literally show them going to pick China to go pick. I mean, at 70, at 65, is that what you really, really need?
Supposed to? Didn't Christine Stone once tell us at that age you should be getting rid of things?
Yes. So in my organizer brain, I'm thinking at 65 or 70, you want to start collecting more stuff.
You're already combining 70 years of households.
Right. So why do you need to register for something? Go to Pottery Barn and get some white dishes or Target. You know what I mean? I don't know. I thought that was a little ridiculous. I thought it was very bizarre that all the women showed up. There were a couple that didn't come, or a few, but the main people were there. Leslie, Faith, the people. Leslie was there. She was there. I think she was there because Bachelor Nation wanted her there. She didn't look like she really wanted to be there.
Did she look beautiful?
She looked great. I have to tell you, I'm going to say this too. Every one of those women looked amazing. They have amazing legs, amazing arms. So you got to give them that, and having the courage, because when you're putting yourself out there, you're going to get comments, you're going to get nice comments, you're going to get mean comments. And I have to say, I can't see one mean thing anyone could say about their appearances, because they all look beautiful.
Good.
All of them, everything about them. Now we're going to go to the traditional wedding dress shopping where they all sit. I mean, listen, I just don't get having to do these kind of traditions at their age. Yes, wearing a beautiful, nice dress. I get that. But this was your traditional wedding gown.
Like frou-frou,
like strapless with the mermaid tail. You know what I mean?
Like the virginal bride.
Like the virginal bride. I think, in my opinion, I would have done something different for a second marriage on both of their parts. But Bachelor Nation was paying for it. So,
somebody was paying them to use that dress.
So, she had the designers there. I mean, I think she had Bagley and Mishka. So she had the people there. So, she's getting the dress for free. Same with the rings. They had that Neil Lane guy who does all the wedding stuff doing rings for them. So they're getting most of this for free anyway, and that's why they're doing it. But I just thought that part, it kind of makes you look at them and say, do they really want something that's from their youth now in their 70s? I just didn't really quite understand that. A lot of big band music is to show what era we're in. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that older instrumental type music.
Probably all in the public domain, so they don't have to pay the artists to use it on TV.
Yes. Well, and I don't know who their wedding singer was, but that was at the very end. I mean, I didn't see that as being, I think you're right. There's some royalties and you can only do what you can do. The lingerie photo shoot.
I didn't know about that.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
They had all the women who wanted to do a lingerie photo shoot.
Oh, they brought them all in. Oh, how lovely.
Yeah. So they did Teresa. They did Faye. They did Joan. And the one that married them. I always forget her name. The one that married them.
I don't know who married them.
The one who looks like China, the wrestler.
Oh, not Leslie. Oh gosh, what is her name?
We'll think of her name. But anyway, she married them, which I thought she did a really, really great job marrying them. So I am going to give her kudos there. But the lingerie photo shoot, yes, they looked great. I just don't even. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really interested in seeing this, but I think their point was you can be in your 60s and 70s and still wear sexy lingerie. That's what I got out of it. So anyway, her having a bachelorette party and them showing it and him having male strippers and blah, blah, blah. I mean, really?
Okay.
I mean,
male strippers? How old were the strippers?
Young, very young.
Like their grandkids' ages?
Yes.
Okay.
In their probably 20s and 30s.
There's a lot of ick.
Early 30s.
There's a lot of ick there.
Yes. So they had a traditional bachelorette party for her. And then the actual ceremony, Leslie's face when they were doing their vows was worth $1 million, in my opinion.
Oh.
She didn't realize, I think, that the cameras were on her. And there was a little bit of eye rolling. So that was worth my whole 2 hours of sitting through this, just so you all know.
I wonder how they measured up to the vows she wrote that night that she thought she was going to win.
That's what I think the eye rolling was for. Like, yeah, you said this to me,
Right.
So then another reality couple, which this makes me feel old because I didn't even know who they were, got engaged at their wedding.
Which
got down on one knee. He proposed to her. She's young.
And that's poor form, by the way.
I know. That's what I thought.
You can't get him. I did read that happened, and they made a point to say that they had asked for Jerry and Teresa's blessing to do that. And of course, they were all too happy to say that was fine. Let me tell you, these two had no say in anything that was going to happen at
this
that
was
wedding.
all scripted, and you could kind of tell.
They had no say.
And so I did it. I feel like I've performed my duties very well.
Yes,
and
you have.
I'm done with the Golden Bachelor for a long while.
You got an A+.
Thank you.
I got a B- for skipping the final.
Which was the most painful. So anyway, let's go back to a happier point, being that, yes, you can find love when you're over 60. Okay. You're not a lost cause. And it's, I don't know.
And that's anything we can do in the coming year to help you achieve that, ladies, whether, obviously our contribution to you is to help you to let go of all the things that are holding you back in life, whether your next adventure is finding love or it's something completely different than that. But our whole goal is on a regular basis to unclutter your world.
Yes.
Not just your space. That's Christine's portion of it. But other than that, just like uncluttering your whole world, your whole perspective, your whole way of thinking. So I'm not sure a great way to transition into my interview. I can tell you that there's not a lot of uncluttering that has happened in my life until you came into it.
Oh, well, I'm excited about this because although we've known each other, I feel like forever.
Yes.
There's things I really don't know about you from, a different part of your life. I only know what I know now in the past 15 years.
Just like a lot of us found out about you being a flight attendant.
Yes, exactly.
And didn't know that. Exactly. I didn't know that until we started a podcast
Exactly.
together.
So, I am excited about this, and I have so much I want to know about you.
Well, do ask, please.
Okay. So I want to know, first of all, did you go to college for radio, TV, film, like for that way?
I did not set out to do that.
Okay.
Although when I was looking for a major, I was like, broadcasting is a choice. Like, I didn't always say, oh, I'm going to one day. I did take a TV production class in high school that I loved. And so I knew I wanted to do something creative. When I got to college, within, I would say, my freshman first semester, I landed on, I want to go into broadcasting. I worked at the college radio station at University of Florida called Rock 104, which is a commercial radio station there. So that was tremendous experience because even though students were on the station, it was a real radio station. They sold commercials. Right. It was a rock format. So I have some of my music knowledge is based on the different formats of radio I've worked in over the years. So yeah, I started in radio in the year 1986.
Oh, working
in college radio.
Those are the fun years of radio.
Those are the fun. Yeah, it was a great time.
Pre-satellite radio.
Yeah.
So those are fun times. Okay, so was there any one person who inspired you or you emulated to go into this career? Was there somebody who talked to you or you really, really liked that inspired you to go into this line of work?
I was inspired by all of the morning DJs. By the way, for those who don't know, that's my day job. I'm a morning DJ on a radio station in Jacksonville, Florida, and have been on the radio in Jacksonville for over 30 years. So I would say it was the morning radio DJs I grew up with in South Florida. So anybody who's listening, and by the way, we have a pretty big listenership down Lauderdale, and they may know these names, but Tanner in the Morning, and there was somebody
Y100,
Mindy. There were all of these
Love
great,
94.
Mm-hmm. And then this is just but complete sheer coincidentally, there was a waiter in my sorority house that was so cute, and I found out that his dad was a big time radio DJ in South Florida, and he and I started dating, and I got to meet his dad. His dad's name was Rick Shaw. And he was well known for wearing this little hat all the time. So, I mean, there were all of these radio legends in South Florida that I just idolized. And I don't think a lot of kids listened to radio the way I listened to radio. So I was really a fan of not just the music, but of the people on the radio.
See, I found that fascinating.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Okay, how do you handle unexpected situations or challenges during a live event? Because we'll get to, because you also did TV.
Yes.
And that's how I met you, was through TV.
Right.
And so how did you transition into radio to TV, and how did you deal with live events? See, I think that fascinates me, because what if something goes wrong?
Well, I think that was one of the reasons why doing a live TV show was so in my wheelhouse, because I'm not flustered. I'm not suggesting for a second that the first few years of any new situation you don't get nervous. But I have come to understand, and I hope other people will get something out of this. I've come to understand that you are your own worst critic, and you are paying the most attention to yourself than anybody in the room is, than anybody watching is. And yes, there are trolls. Yes, there are people whose whole life is dedicated to picking you apart. But those people are going to find fault with you on your most perfect days. So that you can't worry about. But when you're talking about getting the hiccups on the radio,
that's what I mean. Those things fascinate me.
Showing up to work at the TV station and realizing that you forgot to pack your bra, or there are all kinds of things that are going to happen. You'll figure out a fix, and in the meantime, you can laugh at it, and everyone will laugh along with you, or you can
be stressed,
cry about it, and it'll just make everybody uncomfortable, and it will be what they now call a cringy moment. So really, it's about going with the flow, and also really, truly remembering that you're the one who's going to remember the most. And a great example of that would be hosting a Christmas tree lighting many years ago. I was at a spot in Jacksonville, and thousands of people would show up, and it was televised. And I made a little flub by saying there were 3,000 instead of 30,000 lights on the tree, something that in my mind was a big mistake.
Right.
A few years later, I ran into a girl that was the singer on the show. And I said, "Oh my gosh, do you believe I made that big mistake?" And she said, "Oh, I didn't even notice that because I made a mistake."
Yep.
So everybody's so worried about what they're doing that you really, in life and also on live anything, you can't worry so deeply about every missed step. You really can't.
So has anything besides that one incident happened on live TV? Like, did you get a tickle in your throat and start coughing?
All the time. Yeah. I had to excuse myself to throw up once. We were doing, on River City Live, we were doing a chocolate bar that had a ghost pepper in it, or there was some dare, and everybody was taking a bite, and finally someone said, "You should take a bite." And we were on the air, and I took a bite, and then after about 30 seconds, I said, "I really have to excuse myself." And on the air, I was mic'd up. I had at least the level-headedness enough to turn off my microphone, but I just had to make a beeline to the ladies' room.
Oh my God.
And
God.
Tried not to throw. Yeah, I was hurling, and it was, yes, and that happened. I'm going to see if I can find that video.
Yeah.
Because I do have it.
Yeah, because I've only seen you in your, you always seem so spot on and professional.
Oh, thank you.
And so, to hear any little thing, especially
laughing fits all the time. Laughing fits where I couldn't stop all the time.
Well, on New Year's Eve, they had Anderson Cooper, and
the giggling.
And his laughing just makes you laugh. So, hysterically. You can't help it.
Once I heard, and I agree, because he was interviewing John Mayer, and he could not stop giggling. I don't know,
so funny.
Because he was at a cat cafe.
Yeah.
But I once heard somebody say that on Saturday Night Live, sometimes when the characters break and they start laughing, the skit is dying, and they do that to save the skit because it makes everybody in the audience laugh harder to see them laughing.
I
always laugh along with them.
I think it's so
funny.
Contagious. Okay, so is there anything you do to prepare for an event that you are hosting? Do you have rituals? What do you do before you're about to host an event? Because she hosts a lot of events.
I do host a lot of events. Well, I always study my scripts. And even when I host trivia, I always practice by asking a family member or a coworker all the questions in advance, so that if there's something I can't pronounce, I can look it up.
Oh, yeah.
I always cop to anything I'm unsure of. The number one thing you can do when you're about to do something that makes you nervous is to say, I'm nervous. Forgive me, I'm nervous. Or please excuse me, I'm not wearing my readers, is one I use all the time now, because it gives me all kinds of license to say a word incorrectly or miss a word.
Right.
I almost always say something like, "Okay, now let me see if I don't have my readers on." So, and just if you cop to your weaknesses before anyone else can say them, you have a little bit more confidence because what are they going to say? I've already said that.
Right.
So one thing I do to prepare, like I said, is I read over everything. And I used to get annoyed when event organizers wanted to have all these meetings and go over the script. But then you remember that whoever's putting on the event, this is so much more important to them than it is to you. So you just kind of have to give people that
grace,
time and that grace. You don't want to ever go into something and say, I'm a pro. I don't need to.
Right. I don't need to do that.
The minute that happens, that's when you really screwed up. And then they don't appreciate that because maybe it's a charity event or maybe it's something that they've worked really hard for and it's going to make them look terrible in front of their boss. So,
okay. Well, so not to make you pick one or the other, but what are the pros of radio and the pros of TV? And do you prefer one over the other in this stage of your life? Let's say that in this stage of your life.
That's an easy answer because I was doing both successfully. I was hosting a television show here in Jacksonville. I was doing that same radio show that I've been doing for so long, and I could have kept doing it. I had to choose one over the other. The reason I chose radio was it's a passion. It's
a passion.
A
I
niche.
Love that.
There aren't going to be radio opportunities the way there are now down the line because it's a changing world.
Yeah.
We know this. But for me, it still is something I could thrive at doing. I could be done by 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I can wear my yoga pants. I don't have to put on all the makeup. But I do miss TV. It did keep me more polished and more together.
Right.
But I also don't miss working the very long days.
Right.
And one is a lot harder than the other. I'll be honest with you.
Yep.
TV is way harder than radio. Way harder work. There's a lot more on the line.
Right.
And that's it's there are a lot more jobs in TV, but there really aren't a lot of great jobs in radio these days.
Right.
I hate to say it.
Right.
But for me, it's like, this is a dream job I have. So I had to give one up just because I was going a little bit
Well, I always
bonkers.
Told you I thought you were crazy for working those two jobs at the same time.
2 full-time jobs with 2 companies that weren't related or connected in any way to each other, leaving one, going to the other, serving 2 masters and never feeling like I was doing enough for either one.
Yeah. Well, I always thought, how does she do it? I don't know where you have enough time in the day to prepare, to get yourself together. I mean, you were my hero during those years because I'm like, I can barely do what I do and do it really, really well. I can't imagine doing 2 things.
But you know what my days were? They were cluttered. They were very cluttered days with no padding in between one thing and another. And I never rested my brain.
No, that's not good.
I had no calm in my life.
Okay. You ready for the next one? Can you share a memorable moment or a highlight from your career?
So many. I've been able to interview people that I could go back and tell myself at the age of 12 or 15 or 17 that I did it. And they were memorable moments to me, and maybe someone else would find corny. And gosh, who was it the other day I told you I got to talk to? Eric Estrada. Remember that day? I think I texted you. I'm like, I'm talking to Eric Estrada right now. These Tiger Beat people. Olivia Newton-John.
Okay. That I would just go nuts over.
Interviewing Olivia Newton-John, I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of comedians, a lot of really fun, inspiring people. But, there are almost too many to mention and pinpoint and narrow down. And I'm sure the minute that the microphone gets turned off, I'll remember more. But over and over and over again, I find myself saying, I need to go back in time and tell myself I did this.
Yeah. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So was she your most famous?
Olivia Newton-John's pretty big.
Oh, she's huge.
That was huge.
Oh,
that was huge.
That's such a dream come true.
Most famous, that's a really tough one because there's so many different genres.
Yeah.
In country music, I've had a wonderful opportunity to talk to like everyone, Kenny Chesney, Jason Aldean, all of them.
That's big.
Big, huge. But to me, it's more exciting when it's somebody that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now I have to get to something else that I also find fascinating.
Okay.
And that is, when did you start running?
Okay.
And were you always passionate? I know you've always been passionate about exercise, but about what got you into running to where you're this passionate about it? I find this fascinating, as you could tell. I always talk about it because you are so good at it.
Oh, thank you.
And you're so tunnel vision on it. And I admire that. So I have to know about how you started running.
I started running. I have not always been passionate about fitness. I actually hosted a TV show here locally before the one where I met you it was a spinoff of The Biggest Loser. It was on the NBC affiliate, but it was a local version. And so I started working out during that time in my 40s. Now, before that, I was always an avid walker. I walked a ton. So I always had a level of fitness, but not. And then so I started working out, started running during the course of that show because I was doing it along with our contestants. I was just kind of like playing along with them, doing shoots. And then I started to realize that running, I don't know, my body felt like it was made for it. My father was a long distance runner in New York City.
Wow.
And I think it's just a matter of it was a really unique way to make friends, new friends. And
that's a great idea.
We talked about how like once your kids are getting to the point where they're growing up, it's harder to make friends that aren't your kids' friends' parents. And certainly as I started to get more towards my 50s and the nest was starting to empty out, then I really needed those friendship connections. And they just happened to be that at that time period in my life, I was surrounded by people who ran. I was a little above average at it, I noticed.
Right. I was going to say, I think you're very above average.
Well, thank you. And then suddenly that kind of picked up. And I'm just a passionate person. I do everything gangbusters. I don't have that middle gear.
Right.
So I was either going to do it or not do it. And there have been a million things since then, before then, that I've done halfway and dropped. That's the consistent.
I have to hear that. Name a couple. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Name a couple.
Well, I went through my roller skating phase again because I was such an avid roller skater in high school that about 2.5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to start roller skating again. And then I was like, that's stupid.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I even went and took like a dance class. I've done a lot of things. I get into things. And then I don't let up until but that one I kept with. The running. The running I love.
So my last question is, do you have hobbies, like other interests besides athletic?
This has become like, that sounds so crazy, but I'm loving making like these video clips and doing podcasts. And, you and I started this and I started getting completely eaten up with it. So now I've actually started helping some other people working on their projects and doing a little bit of freelance stuff with what I'm doing right now, where I'll interview somebody for what it would seem like it's going to be a podcast, but then instead we just cut up the clips. This has become something that I thoroughly enjoy.
Oh,
you and I talk about it all the time. You're like, you're doing too much. I'm like, I'm telling you, I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely am enjoying it, every second of it. It's so much fun. So yeah, this is what we're doing right now.
So in other words, after 55, you picked up, or really 57, you picked up something you've never done before.
Yet another obsession.
And learned something brand new.
Yes, I did.
That you didn't know before. And that is what's so inspiring to me. And I'm sure everyone who listens out there, that you can learn something brand new after 55, 60, 65. You just have to take the time to learn it, which you're good at. Not so much when it comes to the social media world.
Agree to disagree on the fact that, you're staying up to date on all of the latest things that are going on in your world. But I think I am very proactive about learning. And I've talked about that before. My dad decided to learn to speak Spanish in his 70s.
Right.
I mean, I think it's really important for your brain to always be learning. And I might take it to the nth degree, go to seminars and try to go to classes and watch tutorials and try to teach myself things. But that's just me. That's just my personality. Like I said, I have only, lazy, unconscious, and then the other speed.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
There is no in between. I have noticed that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's go, or I am laying on the couch watching, reruns of The Sopranos or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the same thing, but not to your level. So you'll do your thing and then you'll go exercise. Me, I'm like, I'm done for the week. I did my duty. Yeah. So I admire that a lot.
I'm kind of like your dog that has the zoomies and then crashes.
Yes, you are. My dog gets the zoomies every day at like 4:45.
And then she's out cold.
Out cold.
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm that dog. Oh, all right. Well, thank you. This has been really fun. It's got me thinking about a lot of stuff. And, I bet every single person listening, if we could have a chance to sit and interview you, we'd find you equally as fascinating.
I think so, too. I really do.
Please do join our Uncluttered and Unfiltered ladies only group. We have a lot of new members. Welcome to all of you. And also, please share our podcast with one friend, just one. That's all, we're only asking that. And of course, if you feel like giving us a good review, that's helpful as well. Until next time, thank you. Remember, no matter what it is you're holding, as we're heading into a brand new year, you can let it go.
And don't look back.